charged with murder and put behind bars. OnlyFans model Courtney Clenney's life drastically changed last year when her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, died from a stab wound inside of their Miami apartment. Clenney says she acted in self-defense. But now it's going to be up to a jury to decide, as this case has been bound over for trial. So how's she doing today? And what legal battles still lie ahead for the former influencer? We have some very special guests joining us on the program to give us some insight into those things. They're in Miami, Florida this morning. They're Courtney Clenney's defense attorneys, Frank Prieto and Sabrina Puglisi. Good morning to you both. Thank you so much for your time today and for coming on to join us. And I want to just begin asking you to start with telling us a little bit about your client. We know that she had a very public persona, on OnlyFans, on Instagram and whatnot, and it seems that she was in the fitness world as well. But what more don't we know about Courtney Clenney, please?
I'll let Ms. Puglisi answer that. I think she has the best perspective to discuss kind of Courtney.
Yeah, please jump in where you both can speak accordingly. That would be great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Julie, for having us. First of all, we appreciate being here. What I can tell you about Courtney is, she's this sweet young girl, and actually today is her birthday. So she's 27 years old today. And she was very into fitness. She is very family united. She's so close to her parents, to her sister. She loves her dogs. She has 2 of them who she misses greatly. I get to visit Courtney each week. And as you can imagine, being incarcerated during this time is really difficult. Since COVID, a lot of the jails have changed their rules. And so instead of getting weekly visits from her parents in person, she has to only get visits from them by a video screen. And that's only 25 minutes.
Today, as she is sitting in jail, we know, awaiting her trial, is she still maintaining that she's the victim in the situation with her boyfriend?
Julie, thank you for having us. I echo Sabrina's words. Absolutely. The evidence is clear in this case that she was the victim of domestic violence. There is not, this has been portrayed as one-sided up until this point. The reports ignore several important facts. For example, one of the neighbors talking to a local media here saying that he saw her strike her in the head from across the way. It ignores the fact that she's called security on him many times in several other on vacations. Security had to intervene. Absolutely. Her vigorous defense that we're mounting will show that she was in fact the victim, and the actions she took that night were to save her own life.
We figured you both have been extremely busy. Oh, please, Sabrina, what would you like to add? Please.
No, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to jump in there with a couple things because, the other day I heard the attorney for the family speak, and she used the words that Obumseli was a gentle soul, a kind and docile, gentle man. But the evidence really goes against that. And I don't think we've had the opportunity to really share it, but I'll just give you 3 examples. In Las Vegas, July of 2021, security was called by Courtney, and the body cam of the officer shows the security guard telling him, "We overheard her on the phone saying, 'Get your hands off me.' They go up to the room and clumps of her hair are on the ground." 2022, in February, we have a video of the security going up to outside of the apartment where they can hear Courtney screaming, saying, "You hit me in the leg." And then just a mere 2 days before what happened here, this tragedy, we know that Courtney was asking for help. She was begging the police to get her a restraining order. But more than that, and something that I think is not really shown, is in that same body cam, the employee at that building, he is heard telling the officers on the body cam, "We saw Obumseli charge at her and had to get in the middle." Those are not the actions of a gentle soul, a docile man.
And Sabrina, I know the interview you're talking about, and we actually have the clip that you're referencing from the Obumseli family attorney speaking about the lawsuit, the wrongful death lawsuit that they filed against your client. I want to play that clip for our audience now.
In the civil trial, Ms. Clenney still needs to be held accountable. We know exactly what she did in this case. We have the evidence. We know she has assets. We know that her, in addition to the other defendants that we named, you have to be held accountable. And what the family is seeking here is justice. Justice both in the criminal sense and in the civil justice system as well.
Now, Sabrina, I know you mentioned other instances, and I would think certainly you both are going to have a lot of work to do because there are other instances. One of them, we were showing some video up on our screen when you were speaking, Sabrina, of the elevator incident where your client is seen striking Christian Obumseli and he's not hitting her back. So we know you have a lot to contend with factually. But just speaking about the incident that is going to be in question for the jury, it's the Obumseli's family's position and the position of the state of Florida that your client was the aggressor.
Julie, I'm going to jump in. I just need to I think, really clarify one thing. The media has used that elevator video to vilify our client. That video, when it's broken down, she was trying to prevent him from getting onto the elevator. He had the only key fob to enter that apartment. And the way this elevator works, it actually opens up directly into the apartment, the foyer of the apartment. So she was desperate to keep him out of that elevator. And that is what you're seeing there. His physical aggression, just ignoring her. He's over 6 feet tall, 230 pounds. And he's basically just pushing her aside to get into the apartment, and it's her apartment. That it's a mischaracterization to say that she's beating on him. She was desperate to prevent him from getting on that elevator.
You know, it's interesting when you share that context with us, Frank, and we thank you for that. Do you want this coming in then? I guess that's the follow-up question.
Well, you know,
I think the elevator video helps us.
I'm sorry, Sabrina.
Because I'm sorry. I think the elevator video helps us. When you really break it down, as Frank said, you really are told, look at the beginning where as soon as she sees him, she starts to jam those buttons because she's trying to go. You don't get to see that part when you guys show it because there's a first part to that video. And then you can see his body maneuvering to prevent her. So yeah, I think that a lot of things have been taken out of context. Obviously, that's a lot of work for us as far as the investigation. That's what we're working on right now so hard. To make sure the truth, that's what the system's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be justice, and the truth is supposed to come out, and that's what we're trying to do.
Sure. It's obvious that you both are very seasoned, excellent attorneys and working very hard for her. And I always say on this show, no matter what case we're covering, I always say never get upset with the attorneys. They're just doing their job. They're just being advocates for their client and oftentimes have to contend with really bad facts. And we appreciate you both addressing them. I think some other big ones that certainly have to be concerning are the messages, the videos, Christian Obumseli being worried about his safety and saying that he was stabbed in the leg previously. What do you say to those things, and are you concerned about them coming in to evidence?
Oh, Julie, the judge will make her evidentiary rulings of what is permissible, what is not. The other instance I can tell you as well, we are combing through the 12,000 plus messages between the two of them. Apparently that's, I guess this generation, that's how they communicate mostly through, audio messages and text messages. There's over 12,000 that we're combing through. And the evidence is going to show at the end of the day, obviously this was a toxic relationship and it went both ways. So we're not saying that Courtney didn't take inappropriate actions on occasion, but the actions that night will clearly show that she was defending herself. It will come out that he was choking her, had her pinned against the floor prior to the incident where she had to defend herself. And to address one of the comments by the civil attorneys that have been hired by the estate, this is a tragedy. The outcome of the events of that evening were not intended. Courtney did not intend for him to die. She was terrified. When you listen to her 911 call, she was desperate to get help for him. This was a tragedy, and our hearts go out to the family of Christian Obumseli. But the reality is, and justice, I think, will be served here. And unfortunately, the family's, in a position where a not guilty in this case is what justice demands.
Frank, appreciate you and Sabrina, appreciate you both answering all of our questions. And I can't wait to see you both in action, advocating, because it's clear that you've done your homework on this and you're going to be putting up, as you've said, a robust defense. Now that we know there's another legal issue for Courtney Clenney to contend with after this criminal case is over, the civil lawsuit. Tell us, please, learning about being sued by her boyfriend's family, what's her reaction to that, please?
Julie, I can tell you, obviously.
No, go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to indicate that obviously when she got served with the civil complaint, I don't think necessarily it was a surprise. We had discussed that on the onset. As you know, Ms. Clenney was not arrested the night of April 3rd. I was with her. I've been with her ever since when she went to Hawaii to go get the help she desperately needed before the arrest. We discussed, the potential of a civil lawsuit. But what I can tell you, having combed through that, and I have a somewhat, I guess, not necessarily unique background, but I've done civil litigation as well. I worked for large firms based out of New York. And the allegations in that civil complaint had to be amended. They're charging her with one count of civil battery. And I think that's an appropriate allegation to make on their part. They're advocating for the estate, for the family. But as you know, what they're really seeking here is monetary damages. They have sued 4 corporate entities that they know have large insurance policies behind them, and that's what that's about. I understand that they're saying they're seeking justice, but let's be clear, they're seeking a monetary remuneration here. And as you know, the civil case, the burden of proof is much different, much lower than it is in a criminal case. A criminal, obviously, we all know, you got to prove your case beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. In a civil action, it's by the preponderance of the evidence here in Florida, which is what? It's 51-49%, and you win. So to say they're seeking justice is, I think, a little disingenuous in the civil action, but they have every right to do so, and that case will have to be litigated as well.
Certainly, that one is going to be just kind of waiting in on pause until this one is disposed of, because we all know if there is a conviction here of your client, then it's probably going to be a matter of damages then in that civil case. So I know we're going to see those lawyers probably showing up to the courtroom every day to watch you both in action at the criminal trial. Tell me, please, how is Courtney Clenney adjusting to this lifestyle? I mean, this has been drastically different than what she's been used to. What's it like for her in jail? Would you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I visit Courtney weekly, so I get to see her. I'll tell you that, like I think so many people, you eventually do adjust somewhat to your surroundings. She's a fighter, and she's going to keep fighting. And when I mean fighter, I don't mean physically a fighter. I mean somebody who has a strong will. And so she has taken this in stride. Every day is tough. There are good days and bad days, it's jail. It's not a fun place to be. It's not great. The food's not great. I mean, obviously, as you said, it is a big difference from the life that she was living. And I especially think it's hard because she knows that she acted in self-defense. And so for her to sit in jail awaiting her trial, she is patiently waiting. She knows we are working hard to vigorously mount her defense in this case. But at the same time, she feels that she was justified and that she's a victim here and she has to sit in jail.
Appreciate it. You both joining me this morning, Sabrina Puglisi, Frank Prieto. Thank you kindly. You know, as you know, in Court TV, you know, we look at all sides of every case and appreciate you sharing with us your side of this case, you know, with your client, Courtney Clenney. And no trial date yet, right? No trial date set, because we want to report that if so, right?
Yeah, no, we do have a status date coming up in May. And again, that's simply a status hearing to inform the court where we are. That is not to address her self-defense claims that she was the victim. So that should be a brief hearing.
Exactly. And then we'll figure out when the trial date is based on those hearings. Frank Prieto, Sabrina Puglisi, thank you so much for your time. Speak again soon, please.